The advantages are better mana, and you're able to play Mutavault. Aetherling, Elspeth, Jace, Dissolve, Essence Scatter, Syncopate, so a fistful of counter spells, and then a lot of card draw and Divination, Sphinx Revelation, Supreme Verdict for some board control, along with Detention Sphere. Azorius Charm's always nice, either as a removal spell or a card cycler, whatever you want to call it, and one copy of Celestial Flare. His opponent, Adam Walker. What is Adam playing here?
So Adam is playing a deck that's fairly new. This is a green-black aggro deck. It was popularized by Brian Kibler. He built this one for the mocks, actually.
And he won the mocks because it finished, and he won, right? Or no?
Well, he went 7-0 at the mocks, but he failed to top 8. There's a whole story behind that.
We'll get that later, maybe. Okay.
But yes, he was undefeated at the mocks with this deck. We saw in a couple of our videos this week, actually, on Star City Games, Brad Nelson has also picked up the deck in the last week.
Sure, yep.
So, and what is the deck? So it's a green-black aggro deck. It's based around kind of what you'd think of it, I guess. Your good, efficient green and black creatures. You have Drag Manglers, Lotleth Troll, Reaper of the Wilds, Scavenging Ooze, Boon Satyr, Varolz. And then it gets to be complemented by things like Abrupt Decay and Hero's Downfall.
And we talked about this before. Reaper of the Wilds is the new Huntmaster. 4 copies in this deck. We saw Reaper of the Wilds in a couple other matches, in the Bug deck. Maybe it's the next big thing, Reaper of the Wilds.
It's certainly seeing a lot more play right now than it has at any other point in the standard season.
Costa's playing it in his Jund deck. We saw that, and it was pretty good that one game where he top decked it. So we'll see what happens. Adam's going to need a lot of help, though, from those Reaper of the Wilds. Adam's going out to 5 cards. Jim Davis is pretty happy with the 7, although you can't really tell he's happy. He's just kind of staring in space. But Jim Davis, I believe, will be on the play for this game. We'll find out for you in a second. But Adam is shuffling, going up to 5. Now, in Legacy, going up to 5 is not the end of the world, especially when there's some cards like Stoneforge Mystic where you could play it and you could just easily make up the card advantage. What about for Standard? Is it super bad to go to 5?
I mean, it's not good to go to 5. This is an aggro deck, so that kind of card that creates a lot of card advantage doesn't really exist in his list.
Okay.
Well, what you can do is you can try to have one really resilient card, though. It's like a card that maybe, even if your opponent's +3 cards on you, he can't answer. And I think that would be Reaper of the Wilds in this deck.
Okay, or maybe he could like scavenge some big monster.
Drag Mangler would be good.
Ooh, okay, Adam's actually on the play. So Adam leads off. Jim will draw. Oh, Jim's got some nice planes in his hand.
Yeah, he has Ice Age planes.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. All right. So there's a Hollow Fountain from Jim. Let's see. Is Adam going to have a 2-drop here? This is really important. And a Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah, he wants to put on some kind of pressure here, and Scavenging Ooze is good. He has a fair number of 2-drops in his deck.
Would he rather have Scavenging Ooze, Lothal Troll? Does it matter?
I don't think it really matters.
No.
I don't think he can really discard cards to the Lotleth Troll right now.
Okay. Well, it's good that Adam's on the play because he's able to, sneak the Scavenging Ooze past by the Essence Scatter. Otherwise, Jim would have had 2 mana, have the Essence Scatter, able to counter anything he wants as long as it's a creature.
So the formula in Jim's hand is pretty good right now, like the control formula. Among the cards he has the Essence Scatter, he has a Divination and a Supreme Verdict, and a lot of lands.
Okay.
So that to me sounds like, that's pretty much what a control deck
just
wants.
a control strategy, sure.
Yeah.
The more lands the control player has, as long as it has the answers and the card draw, the better off it is.
Right.
That's why he's playing 3 copies of Divination. You think Divination's not that good, but Divination is a fine card.
Divination has really moved up in the amount of play it's been seeing recently. So looking at his hand now, it is 3 lands, Essence Scatter, Supreme Verdict, Divination, and then that last card was a Detention Sphere.
Sure, yeah, and 3 lands. If you're Adam here, what do you want to take with this Thoughtseize?
It's hard because a control deck, all the cards are kind of the same. They're all just removal spells. It depends on what my hand is. I think
what's the one card that's different here? Divination, right?
Divination or like Essence Scatter. I suppose if I had a Reaper in my hand, I'd take the Scatter.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. So he goes with Supreme Verdict. All right, we don't know Adam's hand, so we can't say, do we like it, do we not like it? But Adam did mulligan to 5, and normally Supreme Verdict's the type of card where it's going to 2 for 1 your opponent. So that's even more card advantage for Jim Davis. So maybe he just has to think he has to take it. On the other hand, Divination is essentially card advantage.
Yeah, and Jim doesn't even have to 2 for 1 this Verdict because he's already up so many cards because of the mulligan and being on the draw.
That's definitely true.
He can just play it as a kill spell. One thing to note is that Adam did intentionally leave Jim with the Detention Sphere because Adam has an Abrupt Decay in his hand.
In his hand, yep. And now he knows that Jim's going to tap out for the Divination, so maybe Adam could follow it up with the Reaper and then he knows Jim is going to play the Attention Sphere, and then he's going to Abrupt Decay. So, sometimes when you are playing with Thoughtseize, you kind of plan not only your turns, but your opponent's turns in advance as well.
Adam looks like he does have both the Reaper and a Boon Satyr in his hand. His hand is Boon Satyr, Reaper, Abrupt Decay. He didn't have the 4th land for the Reaper, however.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. This is a pretty good mulligan to 5.
Yeah, it's good.
A couple of creatures, Thoughtseize.
Yeah, actually, because he's taken the Supreme Verdict, he can even end step the Boon Satyr right now.
Okay. And just maybe untap, and if he draws a land, just even go for the Reaper and just bank on Jim not having a second Supreme Verdict.
Right.
And that's something you might have to do. Lots of times when you do mulligan, especially down to 5, you have to take a lot of risks. You can't really try to attrition your opponent out. Sometimes you have to go for it. If they don't have it, you're going to win. If they have it, it's a good chance you're going to lose.
Yeah, no, I like the way that Adam's played this so far. Jim's going to go ahead and make his 4th land, pass the turn, and now Boon Satyr will be cast. Question is, will Jim pull the trigger on this Essence Scatter?
Now, it's kind of interesting. Why did Adam wait for the Boon Satyr? Why did he not just play the Boon Satyr?
In case Jim drew a Supreme Verdict.
Sure, but I mean, he knows Jim has the Essence Scatter.
Well, he wants to at least overload his mana right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because Jim was tapped out after that divination. So
that just to avoid the counter
yeah,
spell?
exactly. He could go underneath the counterspell. Lots of times this happens where someone draws, oh, this creature has flash. I should play it on my opponent's turn. But sometimes you really have to think about it and make a decision yourself.
I think because Adam has the Reaper in his hand, and that card's the real prize, right?
I mean, is it? They're both 4
They're
power.
both
4s, so it's just like at this point it doesn't matter that much.
He's going to swing with Scavenging Ooze. Now, Ooze can't trade with Mutavault anymore because of that.
The Boon Satyr in the yard, yeah.
Ooze can become a 3/3. What I like is that Adam is just playing straight into Azorius Charm right now.
Yep.
Actually, I like that he's doing that.
Well, how come?
Because I don't think he can play around it. I think.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, you just have to expect your opponent hasn't had it yet. If he drew it now, then that'll be unfortunate.
Yeah, lots of times you can't play around a card like Azorius Charm just because you have to attack, and the longer the game goes, the better it is for Jim, and the better it is for the blue-white control player in general.
Yep. So Jim's going to go ahead and Detention Sphere the Ooze. This is a 2nd Detention Sphere he's drawn. His hand is, I believe, just a Detention Sphere and a bunch of lands, though.
Yeah, and now the other question is that we knew that Jim had the Detention Sphere. Mm-hmm. So why would you want to take away your creature just to deal 1 damage from the extra damage from Scavenging Ooze, right? Because now the counter goes away. The way it works, if you do Detention Sphere, the permanent, the counter doesn't stay on.
Well, I think. So Adam, I believe, thought that was the 1 Detention Sphere. He didn't realize it was another one drawn. He's made Reaper of the Wilds. That's going to get sphered here before it has a chance to get hex-proofed.
Yeah, Jim just takes a look at it. Even though Reaper of the Wilds has been seeing more and more play, it's not that popular, the card, so Jim wanted to make sure, take a look at exactly what it does. There you see it on the screen. Has a couple of nice abilities.
Yeah, so the Death Touch ability, not very relevant here. That's great against mid-range. The Hexproof ability is good. Oftentimes, I think this deck can't really ever afford to play him on 6 mana just to make him completely safe.
Sure.
So the fact that Adam just ran him out is fine.
Yep.
Obviously, he would have loved to have an Abrupt Decay now for the Sphere, because then he would have Hexproof up.
Okay. So now the Mutavault's going to trade with the Scavenging Ooze. Does Adam have any follow-up here? What does he have? He has his own Mutavault. He has 1 card left in his hand.
Yeah, it's a Scavenging Ooze, which he's going to go ahead and
another Scavenging Ooze. Okay, so this... it doesn't look good for Adam, but it's better than nothing.
Well, he has Jim down to 11.
Yeah. And
he has a Mutavault. So he has a 3/3 Ooze and a Mutavault. And
oh wow.
Jim has 5 lands.
Wow,
actually,
yeah,
this
it's
is
just all
fine
lands
for Adam Walker.
Wow, this is great. I actually didn't realize Jim had just all lands in hand.
Yes, the divination he hit 2 lands earlier in the game.
All right, so Scavenging Ooze will tick up to a 3/3 now. Let's see if Adam can draw something here good.
Well, Adam has a 2-turn clock, actually. So he is... don't know what he's drawn, but...
Does Jim have a creature? Otherwise, there's a 3-turn.
3-turn clock. Okay, so he's actually going to... look like he's committing to casting his spell.
Yeah, it looks like he drew something nice here. All right, so Jim's going on to 8. Jim does his little bluff there, thinks about it, and he's tapping for... Whoa.
Polukranos.
All right.
No fear.
Yeah, no fear.
And they will resolve.
It's lethal this turn unless Jim draws something. Ooh, Detention Sphere.
All right.
That'll buy him a turn, yeah.
More importantly is that it doesn't put the Polukranos in the graveyard.
Yep, that's definitely true. Now Adam's hoping to draw Maelstrom Pulse from obviously not legal and standard. Let's see, Adam draws. Is he to just bring Jim down to 3 here?
Yeah, I think he has yet another Scavenging Ooze.
Oh, really? Okay, so yeah, bringing him down to 3 seems pretty good.
I'm going to go ahead and make that play.
Yeah.
And it's... I think he'll go ahead and just commit all to the board.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
seems wise to do this, especially helps plays around a Jace, or it could be some draw there with an Azorius Charm. So Jim's just gonna have to cycle his Azorius Charm here,
He's gonna have to find a Supreme Verdict.
and then he'll go to 1 because the Mutavault will still be around, right?
Yeah, had he drawn a Sphinx's Revelation that turn,
He coulda gained
he
5.
5. That would have been enough to live another turn.
Yeah, but now it's too late if he cycles into a
Yeah,
Sphinx's
he can't
Revelation.
cycle into one. He had to draw it.
Because Adam played the second Scavenging Ooze, which was definitely a good play. Obviously you're thinking, oh, I don't want to overcommit to a Supreme Verdict, but at this point in the game, you have to try to close it out. Now remember, Adam mulliganed to 5 this game,
Right.
and maybe it came down to him taking that Supreme Verdict and it being the right play.
Well, Jim has +4 cards on Adam. Because of 2 from the mulligan, 1 from being on the draw,
Sure.
1 from the divination. But all the cards he's up are just lands.
Yeah, there's an Aetherling, but again, because of that second Scavenging Ooze, Aetherling's not going to save Jim.
No, it'll be a blocker, but that's still 4 damage coming at him. And he can't even bluff anything because he has to tap out
for the Aetherling. Yeah, so that is unfortunate. And I think Jim realized that, this game is not going to go how he wanted to go. And sometimes this happens with the blue-white deck, right? The Esper deck just has some more raw power in general lots of times. So we'll see what Jim does after this one turn.
Yeah, so
He'll
now
go to a sideboard.
he wants to make sure that Adam makes the right plays.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance Adam doesn't go for it, but it's on board. Adam is 2-0, so.
Yeah.
All right, and that's it. Okay, so Jim takes up his Detention Spheres, puts them in his hand. All right, so the green-black deck definitely impressed me so far. Up a game, multi 5.
Well, the way Adam played that is he really just fearlessly ran out all his creatures and hoped that Jim would stumble, and Jim did.
Yeah, all right, so let's take a look at Jim's sideboard. He has 3 more copies of Celestial Flare. I think he probably wants Celestial Flare in this matchup.
Yeah, a lot of cards in Adam's deck are difficult to answer. That's one of the advantages to playing black-green aggro as opposed to a faster one. You get cards like Lotleth Troll, like Dragmangler that scavenges, like Reaper of the Wilds.
Sure, yep.
All of those can be really resistant to removal, but none of them are resistant to Celestial Flare. So
Yeah, so I think Jim wants his 3 Celestial Flares, and he probably wants another Elspeth. Just, he has to worry about Hero's Downfall and Thoughtseize just taking his other Planeswalkers. He wants maybe some more threats. So probably just 1 Elspeth and 3 Flares. Can't really see anything else Jim might want there.
Yeah, Adam doesn't really have a good way to interact with Elspeth. Once it hits the table, it's really going to be a fast clock.
Yeah, definitely. He would probably have to Thoughtseize away. That's his best
so
option.
Thoughtseize it away. He does. I mean, he had 2 Heroes Downfalls in the main. I can't imagine they stay in, even if he knows his opponent has Planeswalkers.
You don't think so?
It's hard to keep him in because that's all they'd be there for.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just the fact that Jace is just so powerful that he wants to be able to kill Jace, because the whole thing is that Jim is probably going to play Jace Architect of Thought, and most of the time Jim is going to tick it up.
Yes.
All right. So now if Adam has the Hero's Downfall, it's just a 1-for-1.
Right.
So I think he wants the Hero's Downfall. To be honest, I would have to take the other side, and I might think he would want to bring in a couple more. So
the things that we know he has for this matchup are Duress and Mistcutter Hydra.
Yeah, Duress and Mistcutter Hydra for sure.
Yeah, so then I think it comes to how much he actually boards out in this matchup. He needs to make sure that he stays aggressive in the matchup. He does have some cards that are creature control cards, like, I don't know, Varolz is okay.
Personally, I think that he doesn't really want the Polychronos or Polychronos, however you want to say it. I think he wants to cut the Polychronos. I think the Volraz, sure, that could stay in. I think some of his 2-drops might not be the best. Scavenging Ooze, it did some work there, but in general, I think Scavenging Ooze is not that impressive versus the blue-white control deck.
Scavenging Ooze was really just a 2/2 there. For 1 turn, it became a 3/3.
Exactly.
It was just a Grizzly Bear. It was a creature.
At least Lothiel Troll is able to regenerate from a Supreme Verdict. So I think he could definitely trim enough creatures where he wants to bring in, like you said, the Mistcutter Hydras, the Duresses, and I wouldn't be surprised if he brought in an extra Hero's Downfall.
Now, what do you feel about boarding, or trimming at least, the number of Elvish Mystics in the deck post-board? Sometimes against a control deck, a lot of players, they want to make every creature count. And
exactly.
Elvish Mystic, it certainly is just more fodder for a Supreme Verdict.
Yeah, and that's definitely something good that you brought up, because not only is Elvish Mystic just another creature that will get wiped away from Supreme Verdict, it doesn't have a lot of power, and Jim Davis actually has Mutavaults. So you might think, oh yeah, I'll get him for 1 damage every now and then, but you might not, Mutavault is a 2/2. So I personally think he's going to bring in the full package of Mistcutter Hydras, 2 Duresses, and 1 or 2 copies of Hero's Downfall. Most likely taking out a couple of Elvish Mystics, Scavenging Oozes, and the Polychronos.
Yeah. There is another way to approach it, is that you may see the Mystics left in. If you're boarding in 4 Mistcutter Hydras, You have to be careful about how many land sources you're trimming. That card is a card that you really don't want to be making it for much smaller than a 3/3.
Yeah, but I mean, you're fine.
It's fine.
Especially if Jim's plan is to, I'm going to hold up Essence Scatter here, but all of a sudden I play a 3-mana 2/2 haste uncounterable creature. That would be fine for Adam. Now Jim is going to be on the play this game, which is important because we talked about it before, where Adam was able to play the Scavenging Ooze underneath the Essence Scatter. So now it's going to be the hand on the other foot, or the shoe on the other foot. I don't think people really wear
Hands on their feet.
Yeah, unless you could walk with your hands. Regardless, Jim's going to be on the play, and we'll see what happens here. In the background, we have a couple of good matchups. So if this match goes pretty quick, we might get the Eric Crater match. We might get a couple other players out there to come and have a second match on camera. So I think Adam said keep before Jim even said keep. Adam probably really likes his hand. I think Jim is still thinking here.
Yep, both players look like they're on 7s.
Okay, so there's a Hollow Fountain from Jim Davis. Adam draws for his turn and just plays a tap land of his own. There's one of those nice Ice Age planes from Jim Davis.
Yeah, this board development really does favor Jim. A lot of times it's hard to say what kind of hand is good with a control deck because all their hands tend to be the same. They're just
exactly.
There's
some card draw, some
card
counters.
draw, some counters. All the spells are just 1-for-1s.
Yeah. Now, if you're a fan of control decks, watch this. Watch Jim Davis play the Blue-White control deck. Maybe this is the deck that you want to pick up for your next SCG Open. Maybe your Friday Night Magic or just any tournament in general. Oh, so he left some Scavenging Oozes.
Yep, he's kept the Scavenging Ooze, at least one ooze in. There's also a certain amount of curve consideration that has to go into the green-black deck.
Okay.
Like we saw last game, he curved pretty hard, which he has to make sure he presents a threat. And you can't, if you're boarding out 1-drops and 2-drops for Mistcutter Hydras, which are like 4s.
Sure.
You have to be careful that you aren't making your deck just generically worse.
Yeah. All right. So now Adam's going to swing with the Scavenging Ooze. It's interesting because Adam does have a Duress in his hand, so this makes me to believe that Adam has a powerful 3-drop that he wants to play. Otherwise, I think this would be a good time to go for Duress before combat. Why? Well, there's Azorius Charm and there's Celestial Flare.
Yeah, and I think a little bit of a...
There's
I
a
think
troll.
The plan was to leave up a mana.
Yeah,
for
okay.
the troll.
So that essentially is a really good 3-drop. Elathiel Troll will probably give Jim some headaches here. And it seems like Jim does a pretty good job of just drawing more and more lands. The one question here, though, is that we know, and you have to assume that Adam knows, that Jim does have 4 copies of Jace Architect of Thought. Now, duressing that away is pretty powerful.
Yeah, and I mean, it's especially powerful when you're looking at Jim's hand that's adjacent 5 lands.
Yeah, so I mean, if Adam wanted to go Duress here, he could have went Duress. Okay, so if Jim has a Jace, we'll take the Jace. If Jim had a Supreme Verdict, then he doesn't have to play his Troll there if he didn't want to. Or he could and just have a 1-for-1.
The thing is that leaving up a black mana for Lotleth Troll really only protects it against Supreme Verdict.
So it's not that important. And plus you would see your opponent's hand because you could just lead off with Duress first. I believe he did have a Duress in his hand. I could be wrong, and we could have this in-depth conversation about how he should have Duress first.
He should have Duressed with the Duress that wasn't there.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he does have Duress there. So, again, if you guys have any opinions on the match whatsoever, let us know. We want to hear your thoughts as well. And there's the Duress right there. So
yeah.
All right, so Jim goes -2 on the Jace. Land.
This has not been Jim's day right now. He goes ahead. I think he's saying minus the Jace. Yeah. In case there was a hero's downfall or something.
It's interesting. He put the Hollowed Fountain or the Island and the Azorius Guildgate. I think the Island is the most valuable there.
Because it's untapped.
Yeah, exactly. Automatic. So I think you wanted to put Island and then the 2 coming to play tap lands.
Jim was taking whichever pile had 2.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Jace is definitely dying here.
The reason with the Lotleth Troll, I want to go back to that Lotleth Troll play.
Okay, sure.
I think it's a good, if your hand is very low on action and you need to protect this Lotleth Troll, I think the play he made is right.
Okay.
And
there it is. Well,
now he learns
6 lands.
Jim's hand's not very good.
All right, so Jace is definitely dying here. And I think Adam is setting up for a 4/4 Mistcutter Hydra next turn. That's what it looks like. And I think it would be a good time to do it. You sure you have to calculate, okay, Jim has 4 Supreme Verdicts left in his deck to draw. But essentially, he's only, maybe about a 10%er.
Yeah, now Adam didn't Mutavault there.
No, well,
he just played it.
Yeah, he just played the Mutavault.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so Jim draws another land.
All right.
He'll play Azorius Guildgate and pass the turn. So
when he draws that Sphinx's Revelation, he's going to be ready.
Yeah, but I mean, those lands are still in his hand. Those lands aren't in play yet.
They aren't even in play.
Yeah. So I believe Adam did have a Mistcutter Hydra. This would be a perfect time to play it. But instead he swings in with Mutavault and the Lotleth Troll, which is kind of interesting because you don't really want to lose a mana, especially if you have Miscutter Hydra in your hand, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to
he's
trade.
trading a land with Jim, which actually is pretty decent because that Sphinx's Revelation is, I think, is such a that's the relevant top
Sure.
deck for Jim. So it's maybe even trading a land is fine here.
Okay. Yeah, there's some argument either way, I would say, for sure. All right, so Jim draws. He needs something here. Oh, he draws a Jace. All right, so Jace is actually not the worst here. All right,
No,
and now
Jace is good.
And Jim probably thinks it's better than it really is because Adam didn't play a Miscutter Hydra there. Jim probably thinks he doesn't have a Miscutter Hydra in hand. So if you're Jim, what do? Do you play Jace and take up the 5? Because I probably would play Jace, take up the 5 here. But it might be better to actually minus it.
So I think you need to get cards.
Okay. Oh, that's a pretty good one. Okay. Azorius Charm, Divination, and Supreme Verdict. It's gonna
you're gonna get 2 cards no matter what.
Yeah,
You're gonna get 2.
think Azorius Charm might be one of the more valuable ones, but because
I want to give someone Supreme Verdict Divination.
Yeah, exactly. So it's probably has to
be.
That. You think that's the way to go? I was thinking it's Supreme Verdict or the other 2.
This way he can't pick a pile with 3 cards.
Okay, that's
like if you split it any other way, Jim, you're giving Jim 3 cards.
Sure, that's fair. But yeah, all right. So we'll see what Jim chooses here. I think this is also kind of This is really close. All right, so Jim takes the pile with Supreme Verdict and Azorius Charm. Jim will follow it up with an island, and he'll pass the turn.
I think Jim has to take that pile. That's at least both of them are draw 2s, but at least that pile, the 2 cards are both pretty relevant.
Okay. Now, if Adam just went for that Miscutter Hydra right away, Jim would have been at a lower life total, although the Miscutter Hydra would have died to the Supreme Verdict.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Adam maybe being a little gun-shy on this Miscutter Hydra. He wants it to be really big, whereas just kind of big is probably enough.
Yeah, okay, so Adam with another duress here. He's going to take the Supreme Verdict. So Jim's just left with Azorius Charm and a bunch of lands. Adam will play an Overgrown Tomb, and it looks like he's going to follow it up with a Reaper. All right, so he's leaving himself vulnerable to a top deck Supreme Verdict here.
Well, the Supreme Verdict's in Jim's hand.
No, he's just duressed it.
Okay,
Yeah,
do himself to a top decked one.
So now Jim has 2 draws because he can cycle the Azorius Charm for a Supreme Verdict. And the first one's a Sphinx's Revelation.
That's
now
good.
It is good, but I think Jim might just have to go cycle Azorius Charm and try to hit that verdict because it's going to be so good here, and it's the only chance for him to really have such a powerful verdict.
Well, so he's at 20.
Yeah.
So I think he has the option of just charming the lot left troll this turn, and the next turn revving on 4, which is if he thinks he has enough time to that. And I think that's the line that Jim's going to go for.
Yeah.
Now the Mistcutter certainly changes the equation.
I know it really does. I think especially if Adam has another land, just miscutting for 5 here is going to be really good.
Well, Mistcutter for 5 and for 6 are almost the same card. The one thing that play does do, it's
here would be
the same clock.
Yeah, exactly. It would be 4 or 5 here. But yeah, the one thing is, do you want to leave open regeneration for the troll?
Yeah, do you want to leave up regeneration? Because that line does make you pretty soft to Supreme Verdict.
Yeah, and there's 3 copies of Supreme Verdicts. I don't even know how many cards left in Jim's deck, but the odds are still in Adam's favor of Jim not drawing a Supreme Verdict.
Yeah, so I do like how Adam's playing. I like how he's playing this. I think before I really wanted to see the Mistcutter. Remember, eventually the control deck they're gonna find their Revelation eventually.
Sure.
So you still need to be aware.
Okay, and maybe Adam's plan is to hold Mistcutter as long as possible, because the only card that really shuts it down besides Supreme Verdict is Elspeth.
Yeah.
All right, so he has Elspeth and Supreme Verdict to shut it down. Other than that, Jim doesn't have any answers to it.
So a Rev for 3 from Jim Davis finds a land, another Revelation, and a Divination.
Oh,
so
there's a Verdict.
And then draws the Verdict. So all the card draw he could want right now.
Yeah, now I have a question. If Adam wants to hold his Miscutter Hydra, we said his only answers are really Supreme Verdict, his only answers are really Elspeth. Now, do you count Celestial Flare into the equation? Would you not want to attack with Miscutter Hydra alone because of Celestial Flare?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you think so?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I think it depends what time we are in the game. There's a certain point at which you assume that Jim will just have the Supreme Verdict. Once you get into big Revelation time.
Sure.
So all it is a ball lightning pretty much.
Yeah.
In that case, no, I play into Celestial Flare. But if you're in the spot where Jim really hasn't stabilized yet, then I think I would like to play around Flare if possible.
Okay, yeah. Now it looks like this match is going to take a lot longer than I really expected, because the first game was pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
But this game is now in Jim's favor heavily, I think.
Jim has turned the corner here.
Yeah, even though Adam still has a Miscutter Hydra, I think Jim has a good grasp on the game, but it's going to take a while for Jim actually to close it out if he's going to continue to win this game.
Sphinx's Revelation is just that powerful of a card.
Yeah, it really is. So Jim D tries to lead off with a Divination.
Yep, hits a pair of counter spells.
Yeah, Essence Scatter and Dissolve, and he'll play his 7th land, and he'll probably go for the... Does he want to go for the Supreme Verdict here? Does he want to just Azorius Charm with Essence Scatter backup? Like, what does he want to do?
I would Azorius Charm. I would wait and Azorius Charm the Troll.
Okay, so you're fine with discarding here?
I'm fine with discarding. The Revelation decks discard all the time.
Okay. Jim does just that. So Adam will draw for his turn. Not quite sure what he drew there.
I believe it's just a land.
Okay, so he's sitting on land, Abrupt Decay, Mistcutter Hydra, is that it?
Yep.
And he'll try to swing in for 6 damage. I think Jim's going to go for the Azorius Charm here.
Yeah, because Jim has so many cards, he's just going to start burning them all. But, the idea that Sphinx's Revelation is best in a deck full of 2 mana things, so that you can just draw a full hand and then cast it, and then draw another hand and cast that.
Exactly. So Jim Azorius Charms Troll. He could target the Reaper, but then Adam could just tap 2 mana, make it hexproof, and the Azorius Charm would essentially just fizzle and never resolve.
3rd Revelation drawn by Jim Davis. I do think we see the Verdict being used as a 1-for-1 now.
Right here, just 1-for-1 and then hold up Dissolve.
Yes.
Yeah,
now
seems pretty strong.
There is a punchline to this, which Jim doesn't know about, which is that Mistcutter Hydra, Jim's now binned his only answer to Mistcutter.
Yep. Okay. Okay,
so
he should not scry. It's whenever another creature.
It's another creature. There's
yeah,
no
so
scry.
he can't scry. Can we stop the match for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no scry on that.
Yeah, just stop the match. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Normally when you play, you want to know what your cards do. Sometimes people forget.
Yeah, Adam scried it to the bottom, so there should, and because that, I think it's an easy fix because they know that the top card is Lot Left Troll.
Yeah, it's
a very easy fix. He can just take that Lot Left. They can be like, we know this is Lot Left Troll. Put Lot Left Troll back on top of your deck.
And me immediately knowing is proof that I've been streaming a lot with that bug deck.
Yes.
So again, Reaper reads whenever another creature.
Well, in real life, Reaper is one of the cards that's easiest to miss triggers on.
Oh, exactly.
And then I remember first time I played it, I used to miss triggers all the time. And then I started remembering the triggers, and then I would try to trigger him off himself, and they'd be like, wait, no, he doesn't do that.
Yep.
So there's like...
All right, here's the 6/6 Mistcutter Hydra, so that's really good for him right here. Jim's going to go down to 5. However, Jim's going to gain 6 life back next turn.
This Sphinx's Revelation is so brutal.
So now Adam wants to draw another Mistcutter Hydra. Because
a second Mistcutter will get him.
Yeah, second Mistcutter Hydra would end the game here. So let's see what Jim is going to do here.
Well, he has no end step plays. He can just untap and Revelation. He can Revelation for 6 on the turn.
He could rev for 1 here, right?
1.
He has double rev in here, correct?
Yeah, he could rev for 1 here.
I think it's not that bad.
It's fine.
Maybe it's too bad.
They're about the same.
Yeah, let's see. So he draws. It's a divination.
That's no.
Oh, wow.
You don't cast that.
Yeah, I think you just have this pass in Sphinx's Revelation.
Yeah.
I think that's the line here.
I mean, once you're revving for a large number, you can't get more efficient by casting things like Divination. You'd cast Divination if you're trying to dig for the Verdict this turn.
Yeah.
But I think it's more important that you just hit it, so you want to just draw the maximum number of cards.
Well, one argument is that he could Divination and hit the Elspeth because he has exactly 9. But I think it's better just to go for a big Sphinx's Revelation.
Yeah, he just needs to make sure that he hits one of these answers.
Yeah, exactly. So it looks like Adam's going to swing in. And
Revelation for 6. He goes up, so basically he takes 0.
Yeah, so he's going to stay at 5 life here.
I mean, so the reason we didn't rev for 1 there is if we brick this turn, we can just do this turn again.
Yeah, that is true.
Which, like, in 12 cards, I think you're going to...
There's an Elspeth.
Right, it's like, it's very hard in 12 cards to not hit an Elspeth or a Verdict.
I think Jim was thinking about it, though.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, and it is something to always consider. So there's a Lothless Troll. Now, I think because of the Troll, Jim's line is probably going to be Elspeth make guys.
Sure.
Where maybe in another scenario, he might have just been like... nah, he probably just always goes Elspeth make guys because he wants to play around another Mistcutter Hydra off the top.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now he has the flare too.
Okay.
It's just this is getting to that point where it's really hard to be controlled. I mean, what is it? He's read for 3 and for 6. So he's at like 9 extra cards.
Yeah.
It's where it gets really hard to beat the deck.
Definitely a really back and forth type game. And hopefully you guys are enjoying the coverage. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this match. We had a bunch of good matches so far. So tweet at us. You could do a hashtag SCGProv, or you could just tweet at GFabs5 or MateusMTG or SCG Live. You could tweet at Jim Davis. He won't check the tweets till afterwards, but tweet at anybody you want to tweet at. All right, so Elspeth is going to come down. He's going to be looking for some tokens here.
He's
Ooh.
going to go ahead and vanquish the foul
Wow, okay.
with it.
Do you think that you like that line better than making the tokens?
No, I think you're right that I like tokens more.
Yeah, okay. We'll have to ask Jim about this a bit
What
later.
this does do is it lets him, so like it's a baiting play because he can now Celestial Flare the lot left troll. The thing is that this is going to lose to a Mist Cutter Hydra off the top of the deck.
It is, right? Because he only
yeah.
has one Celestial Flare. And does he
Right.
I don't think he has an Azorius Charm to combo with the Celestial Flare. Or we could go Azorius Charm your Lotha Troll, Flare your Mistcutter Hydra.
Oh wait, he has two. He
Does he have
he
two
may have
flares?
double flare.
Oh, does he have double flare? Regardless, I think just taking up Elspeth's pretty nice, right?
Yeah, I mean, if he does have double flare, I'm fine with it because like both lines win. So it's yeah,
Okay.
he does have two.
Oh, he
flares.
does have two
yeah.
flares, okay.
So it's like you can't fault someone for choosing one winning line over another winning
one?
line.
Yeah, that's that.
I agree that like I probably would have chosen the plus
Okay,
line,
sure, yeah.
but yeah, they're both really good.
Yeah, all right. So now this is where this deck, I could see like a problem arise, where it's going to start to flood out, right? And what are you really going to do with your mana once you flood out? If you have some Scavenge, that's good. If you have Scavenging Ooze, that's fine. But you don't really have any big Planeswalker. You don't have any... And I mean, you are playing a decent amount of lands. The deck is playing 25 lands in this aggressive deck.
I mean, the hard thing is your opponent has a Resolved Elspeth, and he has 2 Revelations in hand, and like, both of them are for 7.
Sure, yeah.
Like your opponent has a 20-card hand to your 1-card hand.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the trade-off in Magic in general. If you want to play an aggro deck and you still want to play Mutavaults and you want to hit all your land drops, you're going to play about 25 lands. And you're going to flood out. And as we saw, Adam scoops up this game. They're going to have 20 minutes to play the third game. And I think this does favor Adam, because Adam has a better chance to win within, 15 or 16 minutes, where Jim might not be able to. Jim might do a big Sphinx Revelation. He might try to stabilize the board, but he might not be able to close it out in time. So when you're playing Control, you always have to be aware of the time as well.
Yeah, so sometimes you'll see Control decks in their sideboard put in a clock management card. You'll see something like a Jace Memory Adept or something that the
or like another Aetherling.
Something that the deck doesn't in theory need
Okay.
to win the game, but something that like allows it to win faster.
Sure.
Jim doesn't have one of those in his deck right now, so he's gonna have to just go with the same game plan and just play it quicker.
Yeah, exactly. So Jim's going to try to win with Jace. He's going to try to win with Elspeth or Aetherling.
Yeah.
And when we say win with Jace, it's essentially him getting so much card advantage that he'll inevitably win the game, or just tick it up, and take something big out of his deck, like the Aetherling.
Yeah, a good example is I've heard some players right now, I believe Adrian Sullivan among them, are advocating with Blue-White just like playing all Control and an Elixir of Immortality now.
Yes, I've seen that on Magic Online.
So it's like that's the kind of deck where the only way the way the deck wins is it just reshuffles a bunch.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Yeah. So like they'll put one Jace Memory Adept in their deck somewhere, or maybe even in their board, so that if they lose game 1, they could in theory win 2 games before they get clocked out.
Okay.
It'd be very hard. It'd be very hard to win. Say you have a 15-minute clock to win 2 games with just an Elixir deck. That's like that's very difficult to just physically do.
Yeah, so it looks like these players have shuffled up pretty quickly. The game will probably be starting in just about a minute, so that will give 17 minutes for each player to try to win the game. So Adam will be on the play this game, and he did win the first game on 5 on the play. So we'll see how things pan out.
Yeah, that was a very impressive game 1. Jim has drawn a lot of lands in the first 2 games.
Yeah, he really did. Yeah, he could probably cast Arbor Colossus like 7 times if he was playing Arbor Colossus. Not Arbor Colossus, Colossus Whale.
Colossal Whale.
Yeah, Colossal Whale.
I was like, Arbor Colossus. Like,
He could never cast Arbor
I mean, I
Colossus.
thought you were like in the theory. Yeah, it's like,
All right, so Jim's gonna mulligan.
he could Psychic Intrusion the Arbor Colossus and
Yeah.
then cast it. Or no, he's not playing black, so he'd have to hit it with Doxos, and then he could gain 5 and then cast it.
He would have to do something. But Adam is going to keep his hand on the play. Jim is going out to 6. So we'll see what happens. Again, I'm Gerard Fabiano here with Matthias Hunt. This is the 3rd round of the SCG Series Standard Open in Providence, Rhode Island. So definitely some nice weather outside for November. I'm sure we have a lot of people watching from Europe, from Asia, from the West Coast, out in California, where the weather's probably a lot warmer, but it's actually not that bad today for us. We're seeing Blue-White Control from Jim Davis, and we're seeing the Green-Black Aggro deck from Adam Walker. If you had to guess, Jim being down a card, Adam being on the play, would you say Adam's favorite here?
I would definitely say Adam's favorite here. This is in general a matchup that I think favors the Control deck.
Okay.
Green-Black Aggro is one of those, so it's like a bigger aggro deck right now, so it really preys upon the little aggro decks. Like, say, for example, Rakdos aggro, I imagine is really terrible against this green-black deck.
Sure.
But the slower you get as an aggro deck, the harder it is for you to beat a control deck.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely reasonable, because if you're a slow aggro deck, it's better to just be like a mid-range deck.
Yeah, it's like if you're beating someone up with 3-drops, like if controls Azorius Charming your 3-drops, they're really happy.
Yeah, okay, so it looked like Jim was...
He wasn't...
he didn't decide yet. So his hand is Island, Mutavault, Celestial Flare, Elspeth. Is that his hand?
Well, it is lands plus spells, but
I
boy.
think he has to mulligan this. I don't think,
And do you like keeping loose hands?
Yeah, I do like keeping loose hands. But, I mean, he's going to have to run off, like, plains, or...
Yeah, he'd have to run off two white sources.
Yeah, 2 white sources. And then, even then... Well, I guess if he ran off 2 white sources, he would be in fine shape.
Yep, but he'd just have to do it.
Yeah, because he would have to do it.
The good news is that, he'd have enough lands to play whatever else he cast.
Yeah.
I think wisely he goes to 5.
Okay, so he goes to 5, and he does not look. Now, personally, I probably look about 99% of the time. What about you, Matthias?
I look, but for different reasons, I think, than most.
Okay.
Just because, like, so I normally count the number of outs, and I actually just do the math on the draw.
Yeah, okay.
And so I'll look to make sure I didn't screw up the math. Sometimes I'll forget that I had a card in my deck,
sure,
and I'll be like, oh, wait, it was a better chance than I thought. Okay, noted. Okay. But I'm not like, did I actually get there?
Yeah, I kind of look just to see if I'm right, or to see if I should just, like, go tilt off and be like, oh, I should have kept. I lost.
Well, one thing if you do look is that you'll slowly start to build, like, a gut feeling. It's like, if you're the kind of player that likes to play on feel, I guess, more than on numbers, which I think is a completely valid way to be playing, then looking helps you, like, refine that feel of when you're supposed to mulligan and when not to.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with Ben Lundquist where he actually thinks that he played this game already, maybe in, like, another life, so he knows if it's there or not. That's okay. A little more
all right.
Wow.
All right.
Maybe,
No. We can go there.
If you guys have some system or whatnot, let us know. So Adam will play his forest and pass the turn. Jim Davis does have a white source. He actually has 2 white sources.
Yeah, it looks like he has a Dissolve, another Guildgate, a bunch of lands, maybe just all lands. Yeah, knowing how this match has been going for Jim, it's probably all lands.
All right, so there's Scavenging Ooze. Jim does draw another land.
Oh, man. Okay, he has a Divination and a Dissolve. That's like, Divination,
good,
Dissolve, and some lands is pretty good. Yeah. If Adam just curves them out, that's terrifying.
Does Adam have a black source? He does, and then he has Elvish Mystic. Okay, so this is fine.
This is manageable for Jim.
Yeah. So
another land.
I think Jim has to go for a Divination here rather than hold up Dissolve.
To find Supreme Verdict?
Yeah, I mean, he could hold up Dissolve here, but then what happens if Adam just bashes in for 3, doesn't do anything? I like Divination here, and Jim does the same.
Yeah, if you only want Supreme Verdict, I think Dissolve's a fine thing, because scrying 1 and drawing 2 are similar, but if there's other things you want to draw towards, say like a Jace, then Divination is
Here's
better.
One thought. Isn't Dissolve, like, pretty stinky on the draw? Do you think maybe Jim should have boarded in Last Breath instead? Last Breath does kill Elvish Mystic. Last Breath does kill Scavenging Ooze. It might kill Latial Troll. It might kill the Troll.
I mean, no, but it probably won't kill the Troll because he'll just discard a creature if you try it.
It's still 1 for 1. And, as we saw in the other games, he didn't actually have any creatures to pump. So I think Dissolve is just kind of stinky.
Jim takes a 6 now off a hasted Drag Mangler. There's no other land for Adam Walker, but he's got a lot of pressure down. He does have a Mistcutter Hydra and a Reaper in his hand.
Yeah, so let's see what happens here. Jace will go up to 5.
Almost out of necessity.
Yeah, exactly. Adam draws, I think it was a land. I think Adam should probably just keep building his board up here.
Yeah, he has a pair of Mistcutter Hydras right now.
He could just take out this Jace here.
Yeah, he could.
And I think he should.
Yeah, he has, I think what he's going to do is he's going to play this Boon Satyr that's in his hand, which that's very strong because it's committing to the board more without
committing to the
board more.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. And he puts it on the Scavenging Ooze, which I like here.
Yeah, so actually the Drag Mangler gets to deal 2 to Jim.
Yeah.
And she gets to kill the Jace and still deal damage.
Oh, did he just go, oh, wow, he went all to Jim?
He went all Jim, didn't even care about the Jace.
Okay.
I don't, that's a little much. I would kill the Jace.
No, no, if this brought Jim down to 4, I like this line, right?
Well, Jim has Mistcutter. Adam has Mistcutter.
I love this line.
This line's good then.
Yeah, this line's great. Let's see, Jace, Supreme Verdict. So this is perfect.
If he can get him to take the Supreme Verdict,
which he definitely will, because the other 2 cards does absolutely nothing.
Yeah, then he's dead.
Yeah, wow, excellently played by Adam.
Sneaky.
Yeah. He set it up all right. This is good. So Is there anything Jim could do to avoid this?
There's nothing he has on 1 mana, so if Jim casts the verdict, he's done.
I don't think people realize how good Mistcutter Hydra is versus these blue decks. It's so good. You know, it can't be countered. You can make it as big as you want. Protection from blue and haste is just super, super good here. So I think Jim is weighing his options. Is there anything he could do whatsoever?
Well, he has, so Dissolve's obviously not something his other option is to play Jace, to Legend Rules own Jace and plus it.
But that wouldn't even stop it here. He would still die to the scavenging use with the Boon Satyr on top of it.
Yeah, he just has to verdict, and he knows he's dead to a haster.
Yeah. I have a question. Could Adam have still killed him if he took down the Jace last turn?
Well, Adam's dead to Jim's dead to a land here. If he took, could he still kill him if he took down the Jace?
Yeah. I mean, Jim's just dead here, but I'm saying the other way.
Yeah.
You know, regardless, it looks like Adam is going to move on to 3-0.
Yeah.
With his 3/3 Mistcutter Hydra and nothing Jim could do.
Yeah, it's a line Jim really didn't like. This line also lost to a land just to scavenge the Dragmangler. So there was like 5th land would have done it.
Sure, yeah. So I
Jim knew he was pretty much dead when he made the verdict play.
Yeah, I guess it didn't matter too much there. So regardless, Adam Walker's